What is up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I'm going to help people who have been dieting, who have been losing weight. However, they haven't gotten to their goal body fat percentage, but they have lowered their calories by so much that they aren't eating a lot of calories anymore. But even though they are eating a low number of calories each and every day, they aren't losing weight anymore and are still carrying too much body fat to their liking. They can't see their abs, they don't have any muscle definition, and they simply aren't at their goal body fat percentage yet. And that is exactly what happened to me. And let me first explain why that is. If you are going to lose body fat, you have to put yourself in a calorie deficit because that is the only way that you can lose body fat. And I am sure that when you started out, when you were overweight, when you were at your heaviest or carried your most body fat percentage, you knew that you would have to put yourself into a calorie deficit by cleaning up your diet and simply putting less energy into your mouth. But once you are eating in a calorie deficit, you inevitably start losing weight, but then at a certain point in time, you reach a fat loss plateau. When you reach a fat loss plateau, you again have to lower your calories because your body has adapted to the number of calories it takes in on a regular basis and it stops losing body fat, it halts the fat loss process, and it stays there because it doesn't like change. It wants to hold on to what it's got. So, to further put yourself into a state of losing fat, you have to create a new calorie deficit. So, what do? You repeat the process as much as necessary in order to get to your goal body fat percentage. Now, what happens at a certain point in time? You have reached a point, for example, when you reach 1600 calories. That is not a lot of food, especially not for a man, and you still don't achieve the number of body fat levels that you would like. You still carry too much body fat, you don't see muscle definition, you can't see your abs, you are not satisfied with the results, even though you aren't eating a lot of food. That is exactly what's happened to me, and I have now found the solution to how to get rid of this problem and to get to your goal body fat percentage. The first thing you should understand is why this happens. You see, when you lose weight and put yourself in a calorie deficit, your metabolism adapts to the amount of calories that you put in your body. Because when you would keep losing weight, when you would keep losing body fat, that would not be good for survival reasons. If you would keep losing body fat after putting yourself into a calorie deficit, well, I can guarantee you would die because you need a certain level of body fat in order to stay alive. And your body simply wants to make sure that it can allow itself to do all the things that you want to do to maintain your activity, to maintain your bodily functions with a good amount of energy. But when food is scarce during times of, scarcity of food and famine, you have to survive on a low number of calories and do all your tasks in order to stay alive and make sure that you don't die. So it is simply a survival mechanism of your body. But the key takeaway is that your metabolism is something that adapts to the amount of energy that it takes in, and that process works when you are lowering the amount of calories that you eat, but it also works in reverse. It also works in the opposite direction when you feed your body more calories, that it adapts to the amount of calories that it gets. So the solution to the problem when you have hit a low number of calories on daily basis practically and you aren't losing weight anymore, you aren't getting to your goal body fat composition and body fat percentage, you have to eat in a calorie surplus. Eat in a small calorie surplus and train for gaining strength, for gaining muscle. So what I advise you to do is bump up your calories with 2 to 300 daily calories. What this will do is it will give you the necessary energy to build muscle mass when you are lifting weights, but it will also give your metabolism a boost, because initially you will use that energy for gaining muscle to fuel your glycogen stores again. And at a certain point in time, you will not gain weight anymore. And when I say gaining weight, I'm not saying that you will gain a ton of fat, because you are eating in such a small calorie surplus. You will mostly gain muscle, you'll gain a little bit of water weight, put in glycogen stores, and yes, you will put on a tiny bit of muscle mass, but hear me out. At a certain point in time, you will have gained, for example, 2 kilos after, let's say, 12 weeks. At that point, you probably won't gain any more weight, because, again, your metabolism has adapted to the amount of calories that it takes in, and you will need a new calorie surplus in order to keep gaining weight. So then bump up your calories again by 200 and repeat this process. Each time you bump up your calories, you start gaining weight, you start gaining muscle and strength for that matter. But at a certain point in time, usually between 6 and 12 weeks, you will notice that the scale won't go up for a couple of weeks. At that point, bump up the calories by 200. Because you are increasing your calories by such small amounts each and every time, you will give your body the necessary energy and building blocks in order to build muscle mass, keep your glycogen stores full, give your hormonal system a boost, your endocrine system. It will raise your testosterone levels, and your metabolism will adapt to the amount of calories that it takes in. It is enough to fuel the muscle building process, but not enough to make you gain a ton of fat. And when you do that, you will notice that you will increase a lot in muscle mass, and it is inevitable not to put on a little bit of body fat. But if you do things right, lift heavy, train hard, and eat right, eat enough protein, and bump up the calories by just the right amount, you will primarily gain muscle mass. What this does is, not only will you be bigger and stronger because you have gained a lot of muscle mass and just a little bit of fat mass, you will appear leaner, first of all, because the muscle mass makes you look bigger, and because your body fat percentage hasn't risen that much, you won't appear fat for that matter. But what this also does is, after a couple times of doing this, you will have a solid base to put yourself in a calorie deficit again, to put yourself in a state of fat loss again, and you will have a better base to work off of. So let me give you a clear example as myself. Just before the pandemic happened, I simply didn't care about my body fat percentage. I simply wanted to gain as much muscle and get as strong as possible and lift the maximum amount of absolute weights that I could possibly lift. So I gained a lot of strength, I gained a lot of muscle during that time. I also put on a lot of body fat. And what I've done is, I was eating around 4,500 calories each and every day. And at that point, I simply was too fat for my liking. I didn't have any visible definition in my muscles anymore. Yes, I was strong. Yes, I was big. But when I took off my shirt, honestly, yeah, I was in super bear mode, but without any muscle definition. I was just fat. So I decided to cut down, put myself in a calorie deficit, and from 4,500 calories, I all the way lowered my calories by 500 each and every time. And at my leanest, I was totally shredded, about 6% body fat. I was at 2,200 calories. At 2,200 calories, I was very lean, and yes, I like to look, but I was probably a little too lean for most people's liking. I couldn't maintain that. So what I've done is, I bumped up my calories, lifted heavy again in a rep range that allowed me to put on maximum muscle mass, to stimulate maximum muscle growth on a per set basis, which is between 6 and 15 reps per set. And I ended my sets very close to failure. And I bumped up my calories initially by 300, and then in steps, each time I've gotten to a weight gaining plateau, I bumped up my calories by 200. To make a long story short, I have only gained about 6 kilos since doing this 6 months ago. So that's about 1 kilo per month. But I went from eating 2,200 calories to now eating 3,400 calories. So that is a massive difference. That is a 1,200 calorie difference. I have gained muscle again. My muscles appear fuller. I've gained strength again because my muscles have gotten bigger and I've filled up my glycogen stores. And I've gained muscle. And yes, I've probably gained a little bit of fat. I also noticed that I gained a little bit of fat. But I'm still not fat. I still have a six-pack. Still see my muscle definition. Still see my abs. And that's what I mean. I will repeat this process a couple more times until I reach a maintenance of about 3,800. Excuse me, 3,800 to 4,000 calories. I will probably carry a little bit too much body fat for my liking at that point, but I have a great base of muscular foundation. I have a fantastic starting point to start cutting again. And for example, I do this. I will go up to that point because I want to do it, because I want to be stronger again. But I won't get as fat as I was because back then I just ate whatever what was inside. Now I do everything slow and controlled. But if I wanted to, for example, maintain what I've got now, I would stay at 3,400 calories, maybe bump it up one more time to 3,600 in a couple of weeks, and I would still have a six-pack, I would still see my abs, still have muscle definition, but be bigger, stronger, fuller, and don't have any negative drawbacks. And if I even then wanted to cut down again and be very, very lean, I have a fantastic starting point to cut off of again. And I will probably be lean at 3,000 calories and be a lower body fat percentage because my metabolism adapts to the calories that I give it. And that's how you play with it. Nobody has a flawed metabolism. You can absolutely manipulate your metabolism. It's just knowing how to do this. And this is by doing cycles of cutting, then reverse dieting or lean bulking, and then cutting back down again. So when you are at the point when you are stuck at a low amount of daily calories that you eat, but you still aren't losing body fat, slowly increase the calories over a couple of weeks. If you reach a fat loss plateau, weight gain plateau, bump up the calories again. Do that for as long as you want. And at a certain point in time when you are happy with your size, you're happy with your body fat percentage, but then want to lower it again and get really lean and see your abs, then you go back into a calorie deficit. And that's how you do it. It's simple. You just have to know how to approach this process. Thank you for listening. I hope you've gotten value out of this video, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and for more information on how to build the body of your dreams, visit apexframework.com. Take care, guys.